Imagine a world without smartphones, cars, or even fire. Can you survive in the harsh wilderness of 300,000 years ago? Join us as we delve into the daily life of our ancient ancestors and discover the secrets of their survival. Did you know that humans have walked the earth for over 300,000 years? Discover the incredible journey of our ancestors, their struggles, and triumphs in this prehistoric world. This video takes you back to a time before civilization, where survival was a daily battle. Prepare to be transported to a prehistoric landscape filled with giant animals and unforgiving challenges. Witness the incredible ingenuity of early humans as they hunt, gather, and build their lives in this immersive journey through time. 300,000 years ago, Earth was undeveloped and harsh. There were no cities, no agriculture, no permanent homes. Homo sapiens lived as mobile foragers. Survival was the central task. Each day began at sunrise and ended at sunset. Sleep occurred on animal skins laid over dirt. The shelter was temporary. Tree cover, caves, or structures built from sticks and leaves. There were no doors, no privacy, no comfort. Waking was automatic, aligned with daylight. There were no alarms, only instincts. Water came first, not from plumbing. It had to be located. Streams, springs, or collected rainwater were essential. Some sources were several kilometers away. Travel to water was cautious. Predators hunted at dawn. Other humans could be threats. The environment dictated movement. Each person had deep environmental awareness. This included edible plants, safe routes, and seasonal fruits. Some trees provided bark for rope, others had toxic leaves. This knowledge was memorized, not written. It was passed orally, by repetition and direct observation. Food followed. The group divided. Foragers sought berries, nuts, roots, and insects. Hunters tracked small mammals, reptiles, or birds. Occasionally, larger prey was targeted, but this carried higher risk. Tool use was constant. Stone flakes were shaped into cutting edges. These were used to butcher meat, carve wood, and dig into soil. Flint knapping was done routinely. Old tools were reshaped. New ones were made when needed. Cooperation was essential. No one survived alone. Food was shared. Hunting required silent coordination. Foraging required memory of plant locations and ripening schedules. Communication existed but was basic. Language was likely undeveloped. Most messages were conveyed through gesture, facial expression, posture, and simple vocalizations. Meaning was derived from context and repetition. Children learned by imitation. There were no formal teachers, no written instructions. They observed, copied, and practiced. Play involved mimicking adult tasks, digging, throwing, carrying. Elders were important. Most individuals did not live past their 30s or 40s. Those who did were valuable. They remembered floods, droughts, migrations, and hunting patterns. Their memories provided strategic advantage. Knowledge loss meant risk of death. Midday was used for tool making, food preparation, and resting in shade. Movements slowed in heat. The group might relocate depending on weather, animal movements, or seasonal shifts. Camps were mobile by necessity. Evening meant regrouping. If fire was present, it became the central point. Fire required skill, collecting dry wood, maintaining embers, controlling smoke. Without fire, there was no cooking, no warmth, and less safety. Cooked food included roasted meat, softened roots, or smoked fish. Cooking made food easier to chew, easier to digest, and less toxic. Fire also repelled predators. It extended useful hours of the day. Around the fire, stories were shared. These were not fictional tales. They were compressed knowledge, locations of waterholes, signs of animal movement, warnings about weather. Repetition created memory. Memory created culture. After eating, there was little activity. The group settled into sleep, arranged in a protective circle. No fences, no walls, only vigilance and trust. This routine repeated with variation, dictated by season, weather, and success in finding food and water. Every action had a purpose. Every member had a role. Survival depended on attention, memory, cooperation, and mobility. There was no wasted motion. No entertainment separated from learning. No art for art's sake. Everything was survival. This was the daily life of Homo sapiens 300,000 years ago. No cities, no writing, no permanent tools, just raw adaptation to Earth in its untamed state. Part 2. The Fire of Progress, Mastering Control. Fire became a turning point in human evolution. For millions of years, hominins may have witnessed natural fires from lightning. But around 400,000 years ago, evidence shows intentional use and control. At sites like Gesher Benat Yaakov in Israel, archaeologists have found charred wood, burned seeds, and ash concentrations, suggesting repeated fire use. This marked the beginning of fire mastery. Fire had multiple applications. First, it provided warmth. Early humans expanded into colder climates. Without fire, survival in these regions would have been impossible. Fire enabled night survival. It extended activity beyond daylight. It also served as protection. Predators feared flame. Fire created a perimeter of safety. Cooking was the most transformative use of fire. Raw meat and fibrous plants required long digestion. Cooking softened food, killed pathogens, and broke down toxins. The caloric return increased. Cooked food allowed more nutrients with less energy spent chewing and digesting. This change had biological consequences. As food became easier to process, gut size decreased. Smaller intestines required less energy. That energy was redirected to brain growth. Homo sapiens evolved with larger brains and smaller digestive systems, a direct result of cooking. The expensive tissue hypothesis explains this energy trade-off. Fire made it possible. With fire, humans altered not just biology, but behavior. Cooking required gathering, preparation, and waiting. These activities encouraged group interaction and time-sharing. Fire zones became early gathering points. They provided not just heat, but structure to social life. Around the fire, communication improved. Firelight extended interaction time. Individuals could plan hunts, resolve disputes, and teach skills. This regular communication supported the evolution of language. Vocal patterns became more complex. Memory systems improved. Storytelling began. Fire gatherings seeded early cultural systems. Rituals emerged. Myths were created. Laws were proposed and enforced through shared understanding. The campfire became the first center of order. Toolmaking advanced with fire. Wooden tools were hardened in flame, making spears more durable. Later, fire was used in pottery to solidify clay vessels. The leap to metallurgy also relied on fire, smelting copper and, eventually, mixing it with tin to form bronze began the age of metal. Controlled fire required knowledge. It demanded skill in finding dry fuel, sheltering flame from wind, and transferring embers. Fire-starting tools such as flint and pyrite emerged. These skills were transmitted through generations. Groups that mastered fire had survival advantages. They expanded into new territories and endured harsh environments. But fire was also a threat. Uncontrolled fires destroyed vegetation, shelters, and resources. A single spark could ruin weeks of effort. Fire management became a test of discipline and foresight. Those who failed to control it suffered. Those who mastered it thrived. The legacy of fire is ongoing. Hearths led to ovens, ovens led to kilns, kilns led to furnaces. Eventually, humans developed internal combustion engines, power plants, and nuclear reactors. All of these are fire-based systems, evolved forms of controlled combustion. Even in modern society, fire persists in new forms: electricity, plasma, nuclear fusion. But the principle remains: energy harnessed and directed by human control. The mastery of fire was not a single event. It was a gradual accumulation of understanding how to find it, maintain it, protect it, and use it. Once achieved, it became irreversible. Fire altered the human path permanently. Cooking, warmth, light, defense, metallurgy, pottery, communication. Each of these functions grew from the same source. No single innovation has had as wide or lasting an impact. In conclusion, fire was the first transformative technology. It extended human limits and enabled the construction of society. The spark that burned in ancient campsites laid the foundation for everything that followed. Fire was not just a survival tool. It was civilization in its earliest form. Part 3. The Age of Invention, expanding our horizons. Around 10,000 years ago, humans transitioned from foraging to farming. This shift began in regions such as the Fertile Crescent, where people domesticated plants like wheat and barley, and animals such as sheep and goats. The result was permanent settlement. Camps became villages. Nomadism gave way to fixed habitation. Agriculture changed food systems. Instead of relying on wild sources, humans produced food intentionally. This enabled storage. Pottery vessels and granaries were constructed to hold surplus. Surplus meant stability and excess. No tools were required. Stone sickles harvested grain. Grinding stones processed seeds into flour. Irrigation systems diverted water to crops. The plow was a breakthrough. It allowed larger fields to be cultivated faster and more efficiently. Increased output supported larger populations. Labor specialization followed. Not everyone needed to hunt or gather. Some built homes. Others made tools. Others managed storage or trade. Surplus enabled division of roles. With it came hierarchy. Societies developed economic layers. Some people accumulated more resources than others. Inequality appeared. Technology advanced with demand. Around 3500 BCE, the wheel emerged. Its first known use was in pottery. It soon transformed transportation. Wheeled carts moved goods across long distances. Road networks developed. Trade expanded. Travel became faster and more reliable. Interactions between regions increased. Civilizations grew. Metallurgy followed. Around 3300 BCE, bronze was created, an alloy of copper and tin. Bronze was harder than stone. It reshaped tool-making. Bronze chisels improved construction. Bronze weapons, swords, axes, spearheads improved combat. Societies that mastered bronze gained military advantage. The Bronze Age established city-states and early empires. Fortifications were built. Palaces and temples rose. Record-keeping began. Writing systems like cuneiform and hieroglyphics emerged to manage trade and authority. Later, around 1200 BCE, iron tools appeared. Iron was more abundant and stronger than bronze. The Iron Age enabled deeper plowing, denser construction, and more lethal weapons. Iron swords and armor shifted military dominance. Iron plows expanded agriculture into tougher soils. With iron came scale. Villages became towns. Towns became cities. Societies centralized power. Organized religion, codified laws, and professional armies developed. Humans no longer lived at the mercy of nature. They shaped environments to fit their needs. Each invention compounded previous gains. Tools extended human reach. The plow amplified food production. The wheel expanded trade. Bronze and iron redefined war, and by the end of the Iron Age, human life was no longer defined by daily survival. It was organized into systems: political, economic, military, religious. Tools and inventions enabled that structure. From seed to sickle, from wheel to war chariot, each advancement increased human influence. Invention was no longer optional. It was central. The age of invention did not stop. It evolved. Every modern device traces its origin to this period. The logic of surplus, the infrastructure of trade, the weaponization of metals, All began with these ancient tools. The horizon of human potential expanded because invention became a constant. Each solution created new challenges. Each challenge demanded more tools. The age of invention marked the point when humanity stopped adapting to the world and began to redesign it. Part 4. A world transformed. Modern innovation. In the 18th century, the Industrial Revolution began. Steam power replaced muscle. Machines replaced manual tools. Spinning jennies automated textile production. Power looms and steam engines scaled up manufacturing. Workshops became factories. Cities expanded rapidly. Coal was the main fuel. It powered steam engines, heated furnaces, and drove locomotives. Railways connected distant regions. Iron bridges enabled mass transit. Shipping accelerated. Industrial economies emerged. Production volume increased. Output became standardized. Goods became cheaper and more accessible. But negative effects followed. Factory workers operated in unsafe environments. Hours were long. Wages were low. Child labor was widespread. Air and water pollution intensified. Industrialization created both progress and disparity. Electricity emerged in the late 19th century. Electric lights extended productive hours. Electric motors replaced steam in some factories. Telegraphs and telephones enabled rapid communication. Urban infrastructure evolved. Cities were wired. The pace of life increased. In the 20th century, internal combustion engines transformed transportation. Cars, trucks, and airplanes became widespread. Global mobility increased. Supply chains grew longer. Oil replaced coal as a primary energy source. Mass media developed. Radio delivered news. Film documented events. Television entered homes. Information reached broad audiences quickly. Culture globalized. Ideologies spread faster. Politics adapted to media influence. Digital computing followed. In the late 20th century, personal computers emerged. Programming became a new form of tool use. The internet connected systems. Data became a commodity. Communication shifted to real-time global exchange. Mobile devices became extensions of human function. Smartphones integrated camera, calculator, telephone, and map. Social media replaced public forums. Online platforms became primary sources for information, commerce, and entertainment. Labor changed. Automation replaced repetitive tasks. Office work shifted to screens. Knowledge work replaced physical work. New skills became essential. Coding, digital literacy, data analysis. Attention patterns shifted. The average attention span declined. Information was consumed in shorter formats. Algorithms shaped what people saw, read, and believed. Digital life became continuous and fast-paced. AI and robotics entered production lines, healthcare, and logistics. Machines performed surgeries. AI managed inventory. Algorithms predicted behavior. Human-machine collaboration intensified. Despite digital dominance, modern innovation still relies on earlier breakthroughs. The circuit board depends on metallurgy. Software runs on hardware built with industrial tools. Networks depend on energy grids. All progress traces back to primitive technologies: fire, tools, wheels. Each innovation is a layer built on previous systems. Electricity depends on generators. Generators depend on mechanical motion. Mechanical motion began with hand tools. Modern society is interconnected. Transportation, communication, energy, health, education, all rely on technical systems. Each system has embedded tools. Each tool evolves. Innovation also increases risk. Cybersecurity threats, surveillance, job displacement, psychological effects of social media. These are unintended consequences of modern tools. The modern world is built on continuous acceleration. Faster machines, faster networks, faster decision-making. But acceleration introduces instability. Systems become complex and fragile. Despite risks, innovation continues. It is embedded in culture, economy, and governance. Research drives development. Markets reward novelty. Tools keep changing. No modern invention exists in isolation. The smartphone requires satellites, factories, labor, software, and infrastructure. Every tool is part of a chain. Every function relies on others. In summary, modern innovation transformed how humans live, move, work, and think. It replaced effort with energy. It turned scarcity into abundance. It made the world smaller and faster. But all modern systems are extensions of ancient principles, shaping matter, storing energy, exchanging signals, and organizing labor. From sharpened stones to silicon chips, the continuity remains. Part 5. The Future of Tools, Imagination and Innovation. In the next century, technology will advance at unprecedented speed. Artificial intelligence is already producing music, generating text, and designing software. Machines are no longer just tools. They are becoming autonomous systems, capable of learning, adapting, and creating. Robotics is approaching full independence. Machines can navigate environments, manipulate objects, and perform tasks without direct human input. Self-driving cars, warehouse robots, and drone systems are in operation across industries. Bioengineering is transforming healthcare. Research is underway to grow replacement organs, edit human genes, and eliminate inherited diseases. DNA can now be rewritten with tools like CRISPR. Precision medicine and genetic modification are reshaping biological limits. In energy, fusion is a key focus. It promises clean, abundant power without carbon emissions or long-lived waste. Experimental reactors are under construction. Success would redefine the energy landscape. Solar, wind, and battery technologies continue to improve as backup systems. In space, private companies are accelerating exploration. Manned missions to Mars are in planning. Satellites are expanding internet coverage. Lunar bases are under consideration. Space is becoming a new operational domain for industry, defense, and settlement. Quantum computing may be the next leap in processing. Unlike classical computers, quantum systems use qubits and entanglement to solve problems at speeds previously unreachable. If scalable, they could disrupt encryption, logistics, and scientific modeling. But technological power requires control. Tools are neutral in design, but not in use. A hammer can construct or destroy. Nuclear technology can power cities or obliterate them. Algorithms can connect or manipulate. Ethical oversight is necessary. As machines learn, the origin of their data and the intent of their programming must be transparent. Decisions made by AI must be accountable. Misuse or bias embedded in code can scale globally. Gene editing raises questions about identity, inequality, and eugenics. Who decides what traits are desirable? Who can afford enhancement? What happens when biology becomes a market product? Automation impacts labor. As machines replace human roles, economic structures shift. Some workers benefit, others are displaced. Training and social support systems must evolve. Without planning, inequality will expand. Digital life creates psychological challenges. Attention spans shorten. Online echo chambers reinforce bias. Surveillance systems increase. Privacy erodes. Information overload becomes a permanent condition. Despite risks, avoidance is not an option. Human history is built on adaptation. Fire, agriculture, metallurgy, industry, computation each brought uncertainty and upheaval. Each also brought survival and progress. The future of tools is shaped by intent. Innovation without purpose leads to fragmentation. Innovation with direction can solve persistent problems. Climate change, pandemics, hunger, isolation. Tools extend capacity. Telescopes extended vision. Radios extended voice. Networks extended thought. Future tools will extend cognition, memory, and even emotion. Human imagination drives invention. The mind visualizes outcomes before tools manifest them. Ideas precede devices. The creative impulse determines trajectory. Tools will likely blur boundaries. Biology and machine will integrate through implants, neural interfaces, and synthetic organs. The line between natural and artificial will dissolve. Education must adapt. Learning systems must prepare individuals to coexist with rapid change. Critical thinking, adaptability, and ethical reasoning will be core skills. Global cooperation is essential. Technology spreads across borders. So do its consequences. International agreements on AI, data governance, and genetic ethics will be required. Ultimately, tools are expressions of choice. They reflect what humans value. They record priorities and fears. They amplify both intelligence and error. The long arc of toolmaking, from sharpened stones to artificial minds, shows a consistent trend: increasing reach, increasing scale, increasing consequence. In the future, tools may solve global hunger, reverse aging, or unlock deep space. They may also threaten autonomy, privacy, and stability. The outcome depends on governance, culture, and decision-making. The most important tool is not external. It is the human brain. All technology begins with cognition. Every advancement is rooted in thought, shaped by experience, and directed by purpose. In the end, tools are not the final story. They are the medium. The story remains human.